How do you stay strong in the Lord and stay in a place of faith when you're in the midst of storms and challenges and difficulties, be it the current circumstances that are going on in the nations right now or circumstances that are going on in your own personal life? There are keys that you can draw from the lives of God's leaders that will help you stay strong in the Lord. So in these videos, that's exactly what I'm going to share. Hi, I'm Simon Breaker, and I lead Legacy Ministries International. I'm really blessed that you're here. If you're new here, please do subscribe to the channel, because we're going to be constantly updating new stuff, and you're going to find it's going to help you to grow in your relationship with God and help you develop in your ministry as well. So stick around, watch the videos, and I pray that you're blessed. A number of years ago, when we were actually allowed out of our houses, Joe and I took our boys to SeaWorld when they were very little, and as small boys do, they went through the SeaWorld like a pair of mini hurricanes, flying from exhibit to exhibit through the place. And we got to a section where there was a section of canal, like a reconstruction of a section of canal, and I remember both of the boys coming up, looking over the side, going, "Oh, there's nothing there," and then headed off somewhere else. And being a fisherman, I've trained my eyes to be able to look below the surface of the water, so I'm quite good at spotting fish. So I called them back and said to them, "Look, come back, boys, and look again." And they came back and they looked in there, and I said, "Now stop, forget about what's next, focus where you are." And they both stopped and they looked, and after a while their eyes adjusted and they looked below the surface, and then suddenly they both got really excited because of the fact they could see all the fish, which they missed before because they were so focused on where they were going to go next. So they were more focused on the next exhibit than where they actually were. And I find that many times this is what we can do with the Bible. And what I love to do with the Bible is I love to just take one verse and just stay there and just meditate on that verse, and then begin to look through the scriptures how that verse is revealed in the lives of people. And one such verse that I've been really thinking about at the moment is one that's found in 1 Samuel, and I think it's Samuel 6 verse 30. Sorry, Samuel 30 verse 6. It says this: David was basically in danger of being stoned by the people, and the King James Bible says, "And David encouraged himself in the Lord." And if there's ever a time that we need to know how to do that, with all of what we're dealing with right now, and without the virus, the inconvenience of being stuck at home and all of the challenges that brings, if there's ever a time that we need to know what it means to encourage ourselves in the Lord, I reckon now is it. Now, of course, we're not given a lot of detail. We're not given any detail. All we're told is that David encouraged himself in the Lord in the midst of distress. And I think actually when you look at the life of David, there are points where I believe there are elements that you see that seem to point to the fact that these were places that David found courage from. And the next couple of devotions I'm going to talk around that. And this one, I want to talk about what happened when David confronted Goliath. Now, you're all going to know the story, so I won't bother trying to read it all. But David goes and he's standing there in front of Goliath. He's got this massive giant stood in front of him, and he's got the entire army of trained military personnel behind him. He's got hiding. He's got Saul hiding, and Saul was no chicken. Saul was a man who was leading the nation, and he's the one who led them in war many other times, but for some reason on this occasion he was struck with fear. So here's David faced with impossible odds. He's only a kid, he's faced with impossible odds. And how did David pull strength in that moment? Well, what David did, you find he said this: "I've killed the lion and I've killed the bear, and the same thing's going to happen to you." He said this to Goliath. So I want to suggest to you the way that David pulled strength into that moment of challenge was by going into his history and meditating upon or pulling strength from moments where God had shown himself mighty previously. You see this alluded to in other places in the Bible. Judges chapter 2, we find talking about the nation of Israel, that they fell away from the Lord, and the reason why, it says that they forgot the Lord and did not know what the Lord had done. So when you disconnect from the works of the Lord, it causes you to move into a place of weakness. So I really want to encourage you right now to use your previous testimonies of God's faithfulness as a source of strength for you to believe he's going to be faithful now. Many of us are facing financial challenges. Many of us are facing uncertainties in other areas of our lives as well. But the thing of it is this, the thing we can be confident of, the same God who showed himself faithful in so many other things in our past has not changed, and he's going to show himself faithful in this challenge and in this time. And the way that we can draw strength to that is by reminding ourselves. So I encourage you to meditate, to remind yourself of the times that the Lord has been faithful to you, because it will give you strength for the moment that you're in. Because remember, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. That word there, testimony. A Jewish rabbi came to a friend of mine and said, do you know that the word testimony, the root meaning of the word testimony is do it again? So when you meditate upon God's faithfulness, when you think about the way that God showed himself faithful and you testify to it now, you invite God to do it again. You release God to act now. So I want to encourage you, one of the ways that you can be like King David and encourage yourself in the Lord is to remember how God has been faithful in your past. Amen, and God bless.